Yes, back with the final segment of Off the Track, and brought to you courtesy of Windsor Park Stud, run by Roddy Sick. And I dare say, Roddy Sick, as we mentioned before, that next generation of studmaster coming through.
Yeah, and he's going well too, Roddy. He's got some exciting horses there, and it's great to see him launching a horse like Sham Express this year. So we're involved with him, which is very fortunate. Roddy rang up and asked us for a share, and yeah, we took one.
Put your hand up.
Yep, definitely.
Well, let's talk about Zed, because here, $500. I didn't know about this. $500 up front. I'll give you $250 back if the mare doesn't get involved. Yeah. You reckon it was a financially? I reckon it was a great exercise for you.
Oh, look, it was a great exercise. What it did do is it brought people out of the woodwork who wanted to breed a mare, couldn't afford to, and it was a low entry cost. And as we know, service fees are not cheap. So it gave people the opportunity to breed to a wonderful son.
How long did you put up with this?
Sorry,
how long did you put up with it? 2-3 years?
No, 5 years. He did
5 years?
5 years.
5 years at 500?
No, $1,000 the second year. $1,000 second year.
Yeah, 500 and was it 1,000 up front?
No, it was 1,000 up front, and then you get $250 back.
$250.
I keep $750.
$750. He obviously didn't really get you going because you sent him down to serve Clydesdales. How could you do that to him? Down in South Island.
Went to a place called Erewhon. If you spell Erewhon backwards, it means nowhere. Nowhere. Spells nowhere. Yeah, look, he went down there and he ran in a paddock, 27-acre paddock with a couple of Clydes. And actually, they really loved Zed down there. Zed was a sort of a horse that, he's a bit arrogant. And you always keep your wits about Zed.
Okay.
When he came back, I went and saw him up at Grange William at Mark Corcoran, and he was a pretty quiet, laid back sort of a character then. I think he got sorted out by a few Clydes.
Yeah. You brought him back because all of a sudden there's a couple of horses, Usanity and the horse that you mentioned just before, Survive, came out.
Yeah, two very good horses, and Murray Baker swears that Usanity could have been a serious star. Unfortunately, he stood on a shoe and tore a tendon. But I think, Survive's still there. Ambitious Champion looked a very smart horse and went up to Hong Kong. But that year, as 3-year-olds, all three of them were in the field for the Queensland Derby, and really set Zed alight. Okay, he's had a break, and it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, because you've got that gap now. No thoroughbreds coming through.
He got 163 mares last year, and he's a very fertile horse. He got 151 in foal. Okay. So Mark did a fantastic job with him. We didn't bring him back to Little Avondale. I think
it was a good move.
Yeah, well, he still had to prove that he was up to the commercial level. And secondly, Perrin Canto had just arrived in Nadim, and I couldn't tax the farm by putting a fourth stallion there. It would just wreck the farm. And I didn't want to jeopardise the other two stallions. Before
I talk about Perrin Canto, I want to talk about a bloke you mentioned a couple of times already, and that's Bruce Perry, who's a bloodstock agent. And I think it speaks volume of him that he's still around after all these years. And he's still relatively young in that respect. The fact that longevity in this industry is key to how good he is.
Yeah, look, and that's obviously comes with success, He's
a quieter achiever, I'd say.
Yeah,
he doesn't beat his own drum as such?
No. Bruce, I think Bruce was very smart early on. He didn't really chase the racehorses or the yellings to pinhook like a lot of agents. He chased the broodmares and concentrated on the broodmares, and so he was looking after the studmasters. And look, he's had a lot of success obviously at the moment, and let's hope he does it with Libertania and Lucia Valentina. He picked her up for $65,000. Lante's another one of Lib's. But Bruce is a good mate. And he lives on the other side of the river. He married Anna Goodwin, Anna Perry, from Riddlesworth. Yeah, and he obviously comes from a family and Herrick and Judy Perry over at Hyden Stud, so he knows the industry well. But Bruce has been a very important part and a big part of Little Avondale and the success. And every year I bring him in, and he goes, "Sam, what are you doing with that? Get rid of it," and that, because sentimental value does come to bite you on the bum.
Yeah, it does. He found your horse called Perrin Canto.
Yeah, he did. Both Bruce and I were looking at a Son of Oasis Dream, a horse by the name of Sri Putra, who's a group-winning 2- and 3- and 4-year-old over in England. And Angus knew that we were after a horse, Angus Gold. And Angus rang up and said, "Bruce, I found you boys a horse. You should come over and have a look at him. He's a serious horse." Shadwell bought him for a lot of money, and he was the champion 3-year-old of his year in Italy. He was an American-bred son of Street Cry, and at the time they bought him, he was actually the 4th highest rated 3-year-old in the world over 1,200 metres. So he was a pretty smart cookie. You know, he broke 109 on 3 occasions. We went over there, we looked at 16 horses that trip. Mark and Gary actually asked us to look at Paco Boy for them. And Pirincana was one of the last horses we saw. And when he came out of the box,
yes,
Bruce and I looked at each other, wouldn't say anything because there were a few people standing around us, and they all walked off and went back to the boxes, and I said to Bruce, we're not going home without this horse.
Right. Son of Street Cry.
Yep.
110,000 he stood out at Darley in Australia, Street Cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Speed horse, came out. Can I say, and I read all the reports, and you were excited about this horse right from obviously when you've seen him, but with his foals and everything else, he just kept on ticking the boxes for you.
Yeah, look, I've always said it, I've dug myself a bit of a hole. I've really got behind this horse. We sent 33 mares to him in our first year. You know, back originally when we took Little Avondale over, we were breeding around about 35 mares. We're breeding about 72 now, and this year we'll be sending about 28 back to Pirincana. But we've got right behind him. Loved what we saw in the breeding barn, his fertility. Then obviously the foals and grouse-looking types, you know, brown, great muscle, but got his temperament.
Yeah. Hey, I thought one of the greatest marketing coups or promotional things that you did was to go to a sale in Sydney, probably the 5th, 6th cut of yearlings as such, the classic sale. You took 4 Pirincantos over there. Bang, you came away with the leading first season sire tag and an average of 60,000 Australian for those 4 yearlings.
He actually finished second on the size average over the year overall, just behind Snitzel.
And you know what they did? When they came to New Zealand, I ran into Australian trainers and said, I've got to look at these Pirincantos. My own is saying, I've got to look at these Pirincantos. I'd read the reports in the Australian, got to look at these Pirincantos. And it just set that up as the benchmark or the platform from which then for the Karaka sales to go.
Yeah, Pete. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, Peter.
Very similar.
It was well exceeded our expectations. But the idea was, to get some Pirincantos into Australia. You know, I remember Centane and Gary and the old man, they took yearlings to the Gold Coast that first year, and Gary and Mark kept going back to Australia and taking yearlings over there by them. And so with Pirincana, we wanted to get them into Australia. But when the Aussies came to New Zealand, we wanted to say, well, look, we're showing you, hopefully they like them and that they'd see them. Otherwise, they're going to say, this Italian horse, you know, no, look, I can't take one of those back. How am I going to sell those to my owners? The marketing had already been done, and it was fantastic. And they wanted to see those, and they didn't want to see our proven horses.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
It was great. Hey, but he's done it as well. Comes out, first 2-year-old race, Hocus Pocus. Darryl Bradley was a guest on here. Bang, comes out, wins the first.
Yeah, and well done to Gerald Innes. But Bruce and I actually bred Hocus Pocus as well. Okay. So, yeah, look, he's got off to a great start. I think the feedback we're getting back from the trainers is very positive. It's actually a bit scary. You know, Murray Baker, they love their one. I was talking to Lance Noble the other day just before he got on the plane to head to Melbourne. He speaks highly of his. Stephen Marsh's horse, who beat...
Hey, we can't go through
Jason
every trainer.
Bridgman.
We haven't got time.
Jason's horse came out one on Saturday. Stephen's donkeyed it by 4 lengths the other day at the trials.
Here we go. Now listen, he's looking good. He is. Grabbed another horse called Nadim, son of Raditz.
Yeah, but once again, Angus Gold, and they saw how well the horse had been supported and patronised. And he wasn't Darley owned, he was Shadwell owned. Nadim, interestingly enough, we bred his mum. Buzz sold Candide as a yearling. And then Bruce and I wanted to buy Nadim as a yearling when he was sold at Sydney Easter. But the clients in Hong Kong didn't like Reduced Choice. So they said no. So it's quite fortuitous how the horses come back to home.
Full circle,
yeah.
Almost full circle. And not long after you got him, he goes to, we had a Group 1 race up, Grade 1 race up in Dubai.
Sterling Cup. Yeah.
Sterling City. What a great kick-off for that.
Yeah, look, his statistics are actually pretty damn good with Nadim. He had another stakes performer last week. He's had 11 stakes performers now, and he's got off to a great
Different
start.
marketing though, isn't it, to a horse that's
Yep, very
established,
much.
been there, done that somewhat. How are you going to go to the Australians? Because they'll have seen a few Nadeems.
Yeah, they have, and that was always going to be the hard thing. How do you restart a horse that's already been at stud for 5 years? Look, he hasn't been disappointing in Australia. He's been a nice bread and butter horse, and he has kicked the odd handy horse out. So Target and Sight looks a very smart horse over the sprinting distance, but they look as if they're going to be horses that get better over 1.5 miles, and I think he will click better with the New Zealand mares.
How are you going attracting mares down your way, as we've seen a contraction in the breeding ranks down that way? You finding it more,
Yeah,
more and more
look,
difficult?
the distance does, it's a 6-hour drive from the Waikato to the Paradise Valley of the Wairarapa, beautiful grass. Look, it is a mindset
Will you never
for some
shift?
people.
You'll never shift from
No, never shift. No, look, Gary, I remember talking to Gary Chittick. He always said, one mouthful of grass in the Wairarapa was sort of like 2 mouthfuls in the Manawatu, which was like 3 or 4 mouthfuls of grass from the Waikato. So yeah, look, it's always been good country to rear young stock down the east coast of the North Island.
And over the years, you've raced a number of nice horses, in particular, of recent times, a horse called Kikova, which was leased.
Yeah, Steve, we can't obviously afford to race all our fillies. So what we do is we do put them into syndicates, Kikova being one, and Aspinall being another. And it's also another way of being able to celebrate their victories, if they are victorious, with a group of friends and have a lot more fun about it. And that's what Katrina and I, we haven't got kids, so our family, we like to have a wider family and enjoy bringing friendship into the racing game.
Is that something, I don't want to do the Oprah Winfrey type thing now, is that the only thing that's in the back of your mind now, saying the succession plan for the Williams is that you are the third generation, that there potentially isn't a fourth?
Billy, my Labrador dog's going to inherit a nice farm.
Yeah?
Oh, look, we got...
It's a long way down the path.
Yeah, that's a long way down the track, and we've got these nephews and nieces, and hopefully one day that they might put their hand up and show some interest in the farm.
You really have grown the business since you took over in 2005. You were saying, how many mares you're breeding now, 70 odd?
Yeah, 70 odd mares now. Look, size is... I don't want to get any bigger.
You want to be a boutique, eh?
Yeah.
Everywhere I read, you want to be boutique, but do it well.
Yeah, and we've actually spoke about cutting the number of mares down and bringing it back down to around that 50 odd again. But it's with the stallions. That today that the broodmare population going to stud has shrunk. And I think it has been a common denominator with all the studs that they've grown their broodmares to back up and support their own stallions.
Yeah, you must be looking forward to the sales next year, 2015.
Yeah, look, we've actually got a really nice bunch of horses, and it's Nadeem's first crop coming through. More Perencanto's his second crop coming online. But I think we've got a lot of colts in our draft. I think we're only taking in 6 fillies, 7 fillies to the sales, and there's 44 in the draft. So yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, and yourself together, you work so well, yourself and Kat. She's the driving force, the marketing side of things.
Well, I didn't dress myself today, and I certainly don't put the uniform on the staff's back, and the website and the marketing side of it is very much Katrina. She's got a great eye for that, and I think there's been a similar trait come through with some of the stud masters' wives in this industry. But look, we are a great team. She is my best friend, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I got to say, the Williams legacy is in very good hands. Sam, on behalf of everybody, good luck to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Off the Track, and that has been Sam Williams.
Off the Track was proudly brought to you by Windsor Park Stud.